I'm Cape Joel, and this is Comic Smack, your weekly, daily, all the time, anytime comic show where I give you your fix of everything you need to know from the world of comic books and superheroes. And on today's show, we are taking a closer look at Captain America Steve Rogers issue number 16, the all-so-important prelude to the Secret Empire event. What'll happen next? Well, let's hop on in together and find out, shall we? Okay, so I'm technically reviewing these a little bit out of order, as my Secret Empire number 0 video is already out. Go check it out if you haven't. But for those of you out there who care about things like continuity, chronology, and things that will no doubt be important later on in the event, well, we got this one right here. So, once again, we begin with another flashback. Sinclair and Steve Rogers are headed back to the Hydra Academy. Steve is still very distraught about his defeat at the hands of the Red Skull, the fact that his best friend Baron Zemo is a prisoner of the Allies, and that those very same Allies are working on a cosmic cube weapon that could turn the tide of the war. He really is beginning to wonder what the hell has he done with his life until this point, everything he's suffered and bled for. Maybe Hydra wasn't worth it, maybe it's just time for him to quit. It's at this point right here Sinclair does something rather interesting and unexpected. She lets Steve go spend some time with his mother. Yeah, his mother, even though she should be dead. In fact, we saw one of Sinclair's goons totally crack Steve's mom's skull in a previous issue. Then again, Sinclair says that's an accident and she was fine, but we also know she's a bit of a deceiver and has access to terrible magic. Me wonders if she's doing all of this just to keep Steve on a short leash, and if so, does that make her the real villain of Secret Empire? Now, it's really after this point the comic jumps around a lot, trying to set the stage and the chessboard for Secret Empire. First, we check on in with Maria Hill, who's trying to steal back the classified information that Taskmaster and Black Ant were trying to sell her, revealing Steve Rogers' Halen Hydra. She gets the also important information and just manages to barely escape a Hydra death squad. What's truly compelling about Maria Hill in this story is that she's in one hell of a quagmire right now. She has the smoking gun, she has this information about Steve Rogers actually being a Hydra sleeper agent, but she can't give it to anybody because no one trusts her right now because she's a fugitive herself. In a desperate attempt to try and save the day despite her own moral shortcomings, she sends the information on over to Rick Jones, aka the man who was leaking S.H.I.E.L.D. secrets during the Pleasant Hill event and the man that she tried to kill. As you might guess, Rick Jones trusts Captain America over Maria Hill, but just to be safe, Black Ant ends up knocking him out to make sure he can't change his mind. The other big story important things happening in this issue actually take place after the end of the newest Thunderbolt issues. Baron Zemo was able to oust Bucky Barnes and retake control of the Thunderbolts. Kobik, the Cosmic Cube Starchild, whose powers started all of this Secret Empire nonsense in the first place, tried to save Bucky by turning him to Hydra, much like she did Steve. Only Bucky refused and Kobik extended too much of her power trying to defend herself from Zemo's supervillain army, which means she once again resorted back to being shards of the Cosmic Cube. The Fixer and the other villains are attempting to reassemble these cubes to use Kobik's power to remake the world the way they wanted to. A weird hitch they've run into, though, is Dr. Selvig, who had formed a father-daughter-like relationship with Kobik all the way back in Pleasant Hill. He doesn't want to see her used for evil, and because of it, he ends up taking the Fixer out before eventually seeming to take himself out as well to make sure no one could use him to hurt Kobik. This essentially means the two most leading authorities on Kobik's reality-warping powers are off the table. Then there's the matter of Baron Zemo and the Winter Soldier. Zemo still blames Bucky for the death of his father, even though he had nothing to do with it, as his reality was rewritten too to make himself believe that Steve was always his best friend. This ends up leading to a pretty interesting scenario where Zemo attempts to kill Bucky, much like how he was killed originally with the drone plane. The thing is, though, you kind of get the feeling Zemo resents Steve for not letting him kill Bucky sooner, and you have to wonder if he'll make a power play for himself down the line. As the comic winds down, Captain America decides to address his new Hydra forces, telling them that now is the time to come out from the shadows, now is the time to strike, to make Hydra great again and take their rightful place as leaders and shepherds of the world. And there you have it, the last standalone issue of Captain America before the big Secret Empire event. Overall, I thought this one was pretty strong. Of all the books they're calling the first salvo in Secret Wars, this is definitely the most necessary. What I like about this book is that Nick Spencer isn't resting on his laurels. I mean, having the idea for Captain America to turn evil, rule Hydra, and take over America is pretty killer on its own, but then to go a step further and let it be known that Steve might not very well agree with a lot of his subordinates, and his subordinates definitely don't agree with him having their own motivations and agendas that will almost certainly be important important down the line. We also have a handful of people now that know the truth about what's going on with Captain America and who might be able to stop him in the Secret Empire. Overall, I'd feel comfortable giving this one an 8 out of 10. So there you have it, everyone, another Captain America book on the books. If you want to catch up on everything Nick Spencer has been doing to get ready for Secret Empire, well, I have a handy dandy playlist ready right here for you. You can also feel free to check out some of these other videos I have available on the channel right here, right now, and while you're at it, if you want to keep up to date on everything I got coming out from the Cape Joel channel, there's no easier way to do that than to head down to the description of this very video and follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and all my other social medias. And lastly, if you liked the content here and want to see the channel grow while also getting exclusive content, there's no easier way to do that than becoming a patron. Patrons get exclusive videos before anyone else, and you can do so for as little as $1 a month. So until next time, everyone, this has been Cape Joel. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all in another video. Bye-bye.